Hello and welcome to Ula Tea Leaf Readings. My name is Lenor and tonight I'm going to be reading your tea leaves. This is the horoscope for Gemini. If Gemini is your solar, lunar, ascendant / rising sign, then this is a message for you. All right, let's get started, Gemini. And so this is a bonus reading, and our card tonight is the Justice card. Okay, and let's go ahead and take a look and see what are these tea leaves going to tell us tonight. And if you have not subscribed yet, please think about doing that. You can hit that little bell. It'll let you know when the next readings are coming out. It is free to subscribe. And also, if you'd like to leave a comment, please do. I'd love hearing from each and every one of you, especially if you're new to the channel. Definitely shout it out. Okay, so I want to start right up here. We have this, at first I thought, is that an owl? But I don't think it's an owl. It looks more like maybe a fox in hunt, right? Look at that face. It looks like just has the mouth open, ready to chomp down. We have two eyes, kind of the ears up here. You can see the body and then like maybe a long tail. We have, it looks like a little rabbit. Right? Running. Little rabbit, run home, right? Get out of here. There's somebody hanging around that is absolutely kind of, well, I mean, let's just say it, kind of a predator, right? Kind of somebody who is out for self. Somebody who does not mind getting tricky, does not mind misguiding and creating illusions, right? So that they might mislead. Now, Gemini, you're a little too perceptive for all of this to go down. But I do think that, and we have two people here, right? Here's one. You can see the head, the body. We also have, it looks like, well, I'm looking at it as conversation, just words being spilled out. Now we also have the other person here and you can see the head. I imagine it's kind of this very, I'm getting the sense that this is almost kind of like there's a power dynamic here. There's also, kind of a veiled flirtation, right? Kind of maybe innuendo. Friendly, but not to the point where it's like super overt that they're flirting. But I do feel like it is kind of a tactic for control, or at least to get you into a position of being kind of under their thumb. This is their thinking. Now, for you, it's silly because it's obviously not going to work. But there is this feeling of, I don't know. I mean, I think they just generally, and not just with you, but this is a person who feels like they're above it all, right? They can do what they want. They can, flirt and have, these kind of messy, emotional, maybe physical, kind of complicated relationships, but then discard very, very quickly, right? And listen, maybe that if everybody is consenting and everything is cool, fine, right? But I feel like this is more like somebody who, what is that word? Love bombing, right? They give you so much attention and they're so, kind and giving praise and beloved and, making promises and this kind of thing. And then they just, as soon as they get what they want, they're gone. They've ghosted you. Or they keep you lingering in that position so that they can continue to try to take advantage. And, you know, for a Gemini, this is almost laughable. Like, of course you're seeing right through this. It's never even going to evolve to the point where anything really happens, right? I feel like you're just in a place where you're taking, you know, a mental note of, I see how you move. I see what you're doing, right? And it's not going to work here. Not working on this person. You got to keep moving along. But I do feel like it almost kind of, well, I feel like you are maybe a little bit offended, right? And maybe I'm wondering if this is somebody who is at work, right? Or like a manager, somebody in the administration. Maybe it's some kind of, I was going to say maybe like somebody's spouse, somebody that you know. Wow. And it's their spouse, right? They're like, this is how they kind of secretly interact with other friends or acquaintances. And it is kind of a place where you're like, what do I even say about this? Because it's left so ambiguous that you feel like maybe I should say something, you know? But maybe I'm also kind of perceiving this to be something it's not. But then you watch them with other people and you're seeing like they kind of pull the same thing with other people. And, you know, it might be dismissed as like, oh, they're really friendly. They really like to, you know, have conversations, and maybe they're a little bit too close, or, you know, like touching your arm or shoulder or whatever. And it just it just feels like, okay, they're fishing, right? But at the same time, it's like, I wonder if I should say anything. What is, you know, is this going to be a situation where I end up getting, you know, the short end of the stick, right? And so I don't know. I can't really give you advice. I'm kind of a mind my own business type of girl. I just kind of, I feel the energies, and if it feels strange to me or weird or uncomfortable, I'm out of there immediately. We'll never talk to you again, you know? So I don't know. I'm not a good person to ask, like, what should you do exactly? But especially if this is somebody at work, you know what I mean? Like, if this is like your boss or something, keep note, right? I think that's at least keep note of what's going on. Now, beside this messiness at the beginning, because I don't think this is really the biggest deal going on here. I think this is kind of something that's like, yeah, this happened, and yeah, it's weird and uncomfortable and kind of icky, right? Is that big thing that they say now is like somebody gives you the ick? I don't really know exactly what that is, but I imagine it's like, yeah, they make me uncomfortable. They're weird. You know, not good weird, right? I like weird, but sometimes it's just weird vibes, not good. But I think really beyond that, and this is the more important part within your personal life, I see a person sitting here reclined, looking upwards, okay? Now we have a series of birds. We have one right here. It's pretty large. We have another one that is back here. We also have, this one looks like a bird as well, the head, right? And this actually is attached to this part where it looks like somebody kind of sitting here looking upwards. So the birds indicate to me that there is a time of really powerful psychic activity in your life. These are messages coming through, maybe from the other side, maybe from somebody who has passed. Maybe this is a guardian angel, some kind of intelligence, a macrobe even, if you know what that is. An elemental or some kind of, you know, I don't know. There's a lot of different species, races of not animals, of entities, right? I'm thinking like jinn or fae or, you know, I don't know. Maybe it's like a glitch lord or something. But I do feel like you're just bombarded here with the energies of other people, their situations, their dispositions. It is that partly, yes, you're an empath, absolutely. But there's also a very psychic quality here. And I feel like there's so often these moments in your life where maybe you go into like a room that has a few people, or maybe it's very crowded, and you start to like kind of just, you might even consider it daydreaming or just thinking about random scenarios, or like, oh, suddenly I feel, you know, like anything really. I mean, and I'm imagining, for some reason, I'm imagining in this situation, feeling like you're like a teenager again, right? And having a moment where it's kind of like, for some reason, I'm seeing like a lake and a sunrise and or sunset. It's sunset. A sunset, and feeling like it's the beginning of, and maybe this is like at the end of high school, right? Like there's something starting here, right? Something is ending, something is starting, and it is, you're on the precipice of this huge shift in your life. And I don't know why this came up. This was like, this is other than what I was exactly talking about. But yeah, like having these emanations hit you like a wave, right? It just crashes into you, and you start to feel the emotions, the sentimentality, it's just an immersive feeling. And I think that so much of your life you've thought of this as, I have a really interesting imagination. I'm really good at just kind of like, you know, dwelling in these made up scenarios, or I just get these random feelings and whatever. I think that maybe you're coming to the realization that you're actually taking in people's energies. You're taking in their thoughts to some degree, right? Maybe it's not their conscious thinking in that moment, but it is something that is lingering in their unconscious, right? It's something that in kind of the thought, memory, perception, or whatever that colors the atmosphere, the aura of their current being, how they are kind of aligned in that moment. And so you walk into this room and you start thinking about these things and you're thinking, I'm just like, my brain's all over the place. My mind is just taking me on these weird daydreams. Well, it's actually often, I think, that you are taking it in from outside of yourself. These are not your thoughts. These are transient thoughts that are kind of floating around, right? And so it is, I think, that you get lost in this. And as you're coming to the realization, this might be something different than I'm a very, you know, kind of creative, artistic person. Although you probably are that as well. But now I think you are focused on maybe going down this path to figure out how can I maybe hone these periods of time where I'm like really bombarded, and I can use this to strengthen my skill, the clairvoyance, psychic, mediumship, channeling, divination, whatever it is. I just keep seeing these oranges and purples, and I'm thinking of like, well, it reminds me of like the 80s, and I'm sorry, this is this is a non sequitur there. I'm going back to this feeling of the teenage, thinking about, but it's like almost what I think of as the colorway is so pretty. It's like a purples and oranges, and it's like a motif, or not a motif, like an aesthetic that really, you know, is pronounced in the 80s, I think. And the water, there's just this draw towards water, going back to the water. I feel like it's like you've been thinking about, and I keep looking to my left. I'm here, I'm probably, my voice is away from the microphone, but sometimes it's funny when I'm reading people, or you know, doing any kind of divination, it's like it reminds me of kind of being like in like a VR headset in a way. Like I'm looking back towards this other corner, right over here on my left, and that feels like it's a past thing, like it's something kind of like in behind me. I'm looking through the rear view mirror, kind of, but and there's something about this. I wonder if you're having a reunion of sorts, or you're going back home for a little while, visiting, and maybe even going back to the spot that you used to go with your friends, or, you know, this was like where everybody went swimming. And I'm thinking lake, but I also wonder if it was like a reservoir, which is kind of, you know, this is where water collects, where they've done some mining or something like this. But people swim in them amazingly. I remember I lived in Pennsylvania for a while, and there was one that people would swim at. And I wouldn't get in because the water was different colors. It was like there was chemicals in the water, and people were swimming there. And I was like, you know, in Western PA, there's a lot of like mining and fracking and stuff like that. And I was like, this was years ago too. I was in my early 20s. And I just remember thinking, like, my goodness, I'm not getting in that water. You couldn't pay me to get in there. But people do. They swim in these reservoirs and stuff. And something, though, like this, where It's a place to go hang out as a teenager. I don't know. And it keeps coming through where I'm like, what? Maybe it is that you are going back, or maybe this is a place that you've been dreaming about, possibly. But it seems important. And so back to this really potent psychic period for you. I think it is. It's part of this like greater awakening that is happening. And I feel like there's been this time where things are really starting to kind of make sense about your personality, right? About your experiences. Where I think for so much of your life you've questioned if you're just making things up in your head or if this is real, right? And not always kind of being able to know the difference, but also guarding it like a secret, that you even feel this kind of wobbliness on, is this really happening? Am I really feeling what I'm feeling? Am I really seeing what I'm seeing? You know, when I meet somebody and I immediately can just, it's almost like having like a slideshow of images and feelings and impressions that comes through from this person. And you might think like, am I just like making this up in my head? Is this how I process you know, my perception of them? Is this the way that it comes through? And yeah, I mean, it is. But I think that you are somebody who is very psychic and you just maybe don't know that. I mean, you know, but you don't know how deeply. And as you are figuring it out, and this is more recently, you're realizing I've been doing this my whole life. And where I have felt maybe a little even insecure or maybe worried that this is a mental health issue or whatever it is, and you have guarded it, now you're seeing like, yeah, there is something really to this. And so I do challenge you to begin to take note of your experiences. When these things happen, I want you to start writing them down, drawing a picture of them, sketching, whatever it is. Doesn't have to be anything like super professional. It could be on a napkin. It does not matter. Just get into the habit of writing it down as you perceive it to have happened, what you felt, what are the little details, what are the colors and the smells and the feelings and the you know, the little thoughts, the kind of, what is it called? The, I can't even think of the word. The associations, right? All the little associations that you have and where that leads. So write that stuff down. Now, you don't have to really do anything with it, but at some point it is going to help you really look at a situation from even like a third party standpoint, right? You're kind of really in the moment, involved in whatever is transpiring and how you're feeling and the information you're receiving. But then also part of your brain is kind of watching this as like a uninvolved party, okay? Taking note of the details. And I think that's important because we start to see these patterns that are emerging, right? Now, people that are clairvoyant or psychic in some way, we might not all pick up on the same informations from people, and there might actually be kind of themes to what we pick up on. And if you think of this as like maybe somebody who is really good at seeing somebody's like ancestors, the intelligences that kind of surround this person, that walk with this person, versus somebody else who might meet somebody and they have the ability to kind of do body scans and see like, oh, I think this person might be sick, or, you know, that something's going on like with their, you know, intestines or something, you know, and you can often not only just have kind of this understanding of something might be going on, but you can also maybe sometimes smell it or see colors or kind of auras or hazes around certain parts of people's bodies. Now, these are two different kinds of psychic, clairvoyant, and people interpreting things, right? So it might be that you will find that you have a particular ability with this, and that might be important to figure out what is that, right? Especially if you're trying to avoid it, because listen, not everybody that starts to realize that they do have these abilities wants to partake in them, and sometimes you have to learn how to quiet these things, right? I don't want to read every person that I meet. Now I can't anyways. Sometimes it's very, you know, devoid of anything, which I take note of more than if I'm feeling, you know, I'm like, wow, I cannot read this person at all. But yeah, sometimes you need to be able to turn it off or ignore it. And that's something that you have to learn. You know, that is absolutely something that takes time to figure out how to do that. And I wanted to, where was the number here? So we have 860 as a number, 860 on this plate. Now over here, we have an I, we also have an S. Here's the I, okay. We have a butterfly, we have a house. We have a house right here. Oh no, where is it? Right there. A house right there. We have the number 8 again. And I feel like this is a situation where you are, I think it's like keeping a watchful eye over your domestic situation, over your home. Something seems a little disruptive there, but I feel like you're evolving kind of the ability to deal with this situation. And I almost wonder if it's like you've had a child or your child's getting older, because the energy doesn't feel negative, it just feels chaotic. And I feel like it's a sense of trying to keep up with how the happenings and the energy of the house are going, and you're constantly evolving with them. So I wonder if they're a little younger, because, you know, when kids are young, they change a lot. Even just over a short amount of time. They're really into something, then they're not. They're having a behavior, and then they're not. And you're constantly trying to keep up with like what's working and what's not working, right? So this might even be like a grandchild you're watching, or maybe you are raising a grandchild, nephew, niece, cousin, whoever it is, right? But I do feel like this is, yes, a youthful person. Now we have the number 2. And we also have the energy of a Libra person here. There's a Libra person. Oh, and look at, they make you happy. That's like, what's going on with the Libra? Yeah, it's somebody who you enjoy being with. And I see we have a parrot. And I feel like there's a sense of being very chatty with them. This is somebody who you can just kind of hang out with and talk, you know, and you don't run out of stuff to talk about. Or if you do, and there's like these lulls in conversation, it doesn't feel awkward, right? You're fine. You can just, you know, kind of sit next to each other in peace. And yes, I think this is a really important friendship to have because they do. I think they're just easy and you feel like you can be yourself with them. All right, so we're going to do our self-care affirmation cards. I'm going to flip through and stop where it feels right. It says the sacred temple. My body is a sacred temple. I care for my physical self with exercise, nourishing food, and deep rest. I treat my body like a treasured temple. I treat my body like a treasured temple. Absolutely. All right. Well, Gemini, I want to go ahead and tell you I love you because I do. And I thank you so much for spending this time with me. It is always such an honor to be able to bring these messages to you. And if you would be so kind as to like the video, it really does help the channel, which the channel has needed some help. My goodness. The algorithm or whatever it is, I don't know. It just tanked for a while. So this channel needs to be revived a little bit. Thankfully, things are starting to seem to pick up a little bit, but you never get used to the ebb and flow of the algorithm there. But yes, so liking any kind of engagement, right? That's so helpful. And also, if you haven't subscribed yet, think about doing that because really, supposedly, you will be reminded when videos come out. You got to hit that little bell button, put all the notifications on. It is free to subscribe. Now, there also is one tier that is for members, okay? It's like a support the channel kind of membership or whatever. Also, if you would like to leave a comment, please do. I love hearing from you. And I read all of the comments. I do. I know some, you know, as the channels pick up, it's hard to get through them all, you know. But I don't know. I'm dedicated to reading them all. Now, it maybe takes a couple days for me to like them or get back to you. But yes, I read everything you have to say. And especially if you're new, shout it out in the comments. Absolutely. I'd love to know that you have come, you have visited, you might be coming back. That it's always nice to see that. So I think that's it, Gemini. All right. I love you. Take care of yourself. We're going to talk in just a few days. Good night. Good night. Good night.